Here we are again, writing daily. This is Devin. I'm 26 minutes and 11 seconds late, but I'm here because this is my commitment to writing and to writing well and more often and getting it done. And today we're going to be discussing kind of a big question. It's when do you know you're going to be? When do you know you get to be a writer? What does that look like? So that all said, welcome. My name is Devin Galaudet. I'm the editor-in-chief of In the Know Traveler and the forthcoming memoir, 10,000 Miles with My Dead Father's Ashes. So what does it mean? I got a call this morning from a friend of mine. He's a good buddy. He's also a writer. And he was talking about the idea of sort of like hanging it up. Like it wasn't worth the trouble and the aggravation of being a writer. He loved it. And at the same time, there's this thing that is kind of preventing him from being a writer. So in my own history, I've gone through that kind of thing multiple times. And it's kind of ironic to some degree, is that I think when I started out, and I've told this story many times, there was an evil and awful woman, let's just call her Mrs. Jones, my third grade teacher, who after I turned in some assignment, a writing assignment, when I was a tiny, tiny person, she literally walked over to me and said, "Wow, you're never going to be a writer. Take a lot of woodshop classes." And I think that little description kind of hung in the back of my head for a really, really long time. Even once I was writing professionally, even though, I was like editing blogs, and I was editing other writers. I had a number of websites. Everything was going fantastic. And still, when somebody would say, "Are you a travel journalist?" I would come up with hemming and hawing about all kinds of things. No, I'm not a journalist. A journalist requires a degree, and I didn't have a degree, and I didn't have the proper credentials. And if they said I was a journalist, I said I was a writer. And if they said I was a writer, I said I was a hobbyist. And if they said I was a hobbyist, I would say I was a dabbler. And whatever it was, whatever it was that people thought I wanted to make sure that I was somehow beneath that. And so this went on for a really long time. And I remember going out to have lunch with a friend, and she's a writer. As a matter of fact, a big shout out to Saran Fox. I don't know if you see this, Saran, but anyway, really wonderful writer, really smart person, super deluxe smarty. I think she's fantastic. And we had this conversation where I was basically kind of denigrating myself and my ability. And she goes, on a personal level, I think you have something to say, and that makes you a writer right off the bat. But she also said, what would you need to write in order to accept the fact that you're a writer? And I thought about that for a minute, and I thought, I would need to write something equivalent to Huckleberry Finn, like one of sort of like the masterpieces in creative writing. A bunch of other names, I would need to be the next Emily Dickinson for poetry. I would need to, and I had a whole list of these writers that I considered to be far, far superior than something that I could ever be. And so it was a challenging kind of period to get to this place of, no, I'm a writer. That's what I do. I write, I blog, I write articles, and now I have a book coming out, which is really exciting. But so that all said, what do you do when you're in the middle of that kind of scenario where you are writing, you love writing, and then there's this little voice in the back of your head saying you can't do it and you're not good enough? And, I think this is probably true of just humanity, that we go after things, and at some point, while it gets challenging or where I have to really start working at it, somewhere along the line, I'm going to go, I can't do this. Who am I to be moving forward? And, one of the beauties of being a writer, and this is so true, is that like at some point I went back to school, and I have an MFA, and I've gotten stories, published in obviously, a variety of different travel magazines, as well as literary magazines. And I have a book coming out. And so all that stuff is great. And the self-doubt persists because I'm waiting to be like Stephen King. I'm waiting to have 50 books out, and then it would be okay. And again, the funny thing is, what I was getting to is that we're at a stage now that everybody's a writer, that we're at a stage now that where everybody's blogging and most of it's terrible. Most of it's terrible. And they bandy around words like authenticity. Well, I can't spell, and I can't be bothered to put in grammar, and I can't be bothered to stay on point, and people are going to think it's folksy and charming, and therefore I'm authentic, rather than saying, my writing could improve dramatically. And that's kind of what blogging has given us, this sort of free-for-all that everything is writing. And so I think that in this day and age, really, if you have something to say, that you are close to saying it, or you are reaching out towards that place where you are writing with some regularity and you're attempting to be part of the business of writing, I think you're a writer. I think if you have written a manuscript, even if you haven't sent it out, I think you're a writer because you've put in the time. If you wake up and you're still puzzling over a particular sentence and how to reword it in a way that best conveys its meaning, you're a writer. I think if you like to draw pictures and you need to fill in bubbles to make a comic book, that's writing. All of that is writing. Whatever it is that you are doing and you have a passion for it, if you are doing copywriting for, I have a friend who does copywriting for Barbie dolls and Hot Wheels, and she's a writer. And writing is one of the few things that you can do, and this is how I think happening in more and more different careers, where you just have to go do it in order to claim it. Like, I didn't know where after, there's still a chunk of me that's like, oh, I'm not a writer, I'm just dabbling about. But there's a point where you just have to start taking stock in all of the things that you've done and attempted to do. And I think it's that attempt, and it's that passion, and it's that drive, and that's love. I was speaking with a writer. Where is his book? I put it back on the shelf. The writer of Gun Needle Spoon, Patrick O'Neill, and he's a guy that I went to school with. He's a great guy. We have a load in common, actually. And he said something to the effect of, if my novel doesn't sell, I'm just going to write another one, because he's a writer. You know what I mean? And you don't necessarily have to be in that place. Like, you can go after all the sales, but at the end of the day, if you have a lot invested in what your writing is, if it means something to you to convey your message, there's no better way to do it, in my humble opinion. I mean, books have been around for the last 500 years. I certainly hope that they will be around for hundreds and thousands of more years, because this is how we learn about the world around us. This is how we learn to do things, through how-to books, and how we aspire to be more through self-help, and how we go into somebody else's universe in a short story. So anyway, as always, it would mean a great deal to me if you consider the like button, or you like my author page, Devin Galaudet 2 on Facebook. And even better yet, please go to Devin Galaudet, http://devingallaudet.com/ I have a link. I'm going to give you a link that will allow you to just fly there in ultra speed. And so ask me questions. Fill the bubble over here, and let's talk about writing. Let's inspire you to continue to do more of your work while we all inch towards all of our individual writing goals. And the next few days is going to be kind of catch as catch can. I'm actually going to an event where I'm going to kind of be promoting my book. There's going to be a whole slew of what's called media influencers in the room. And so I'm going to show up for that. I'm going to present myself in the best possible light. And tomorrow, I'm going to be interviewing Collision Theory's author. Do you guys remember this? Like last week, when I kind of was like, oh my God, I kind of like what he's doing. I was talking about bad first paragraphs and sharing how this guy's first paragraph like brings you right into the thing. And so here he is. So I reached out to him, and long story short, we're doing an interview tomorrow at 9:30. I'm going to post it and thank you for the love, everybody. It's greatly appreciated. And so I'm going to be interviewing him tomorrow about his book, and maybe we're going to talk a little bit about writing. We're going to have a great time. Seems like a good egg. I'm actually somewhere on page 70 in his book and enjoying it, and I'm going to keep reading, and I hope you guys are doing the same. So tomorrow, again, I'm going to have a pre-recorded video, and then I'm going to try and squeeze some stuff in and maybe have some additional on-the-spot interviews as we go along. So anyway, thanks for being here. I look forward to seeing you guys next time, and keep writing daily.